I'm Berry Tramel with the Oklahoman. It's now been 20 years since Barry Switzer last was on the recruiting trail, but his stories have not paled. The tales remain vivid of how Switzer collected the talent that built the Sooner football dynasty. I sat down with Switzer a couple of days ago to reminisce about his days as one of college football's most dynamic recruiters. For years, you've always been really close to your players. Did you get close to players during the recruiting process? And is that possible? And who in particular did you really get close to?
You know, I always was close to players. I was close to players when I played. I had good relationships with players. I guess, you know, that's when they elected me captain. I guess it wasn't because I was a damn good football player. It was just because I was someone they liked. And I was a kind of a leader, and I was a guy that was a bust-my-ass kind of player. I played hard, gave great effort and all that, and those things were recognized. That's why I was elected captain, not because I was a good player. But I've always had that ability to, I was approachable, and that's what I find the kids today, even on this campus today. Kids come up to me all the time. They know I'm approachable. Something about me, my personality, people call me Barry. Kids come up, and sometimes when I don't think it's the right way, the way they say it, I say, "Son, you ain't lived long enough to call me Barry." So I'll bust their ass for like that. But most kids, I don't mind it, and when they're respectful and all that. But I've always had that ability to, but I had to be that way. I would initiate it. I would grab my players and hug them, come up behind them, hug them, and kiss them on the neck, and tell them, "Anybody told you they loved you today?" Things like that. And you know, I just had a great relationship with my players. And in recruiting, I knew this. My assistant coaches and myself did a great job of selling our program and trying to get those young men to join our family. But the greatest recruiters of our program are our players. If your players love you and care about you and know you take care of them, and regardless of whether they're first teamers, second teamers, third teamers, whatever team, and we had a lot of teams back in because we were recruiting 50 a year, so we have 200 players. They don't just have 85. We had 200 plus dressed out. And those players were the ones that I bring a kid in here for a 48-hour visit. He could kill you. If you didn't take care of your players and they didn't like you, those players that visit ask about the head coach. And they want to know on their visit what it's like for them living here in this program and this campus. And my players were my greatest recruiters because I would ask them to help me, sell the program, make them, regardless of how good a player they are, they might beat your ass out, you know, but you're doing the best thing and the right thing to help this program, and players did it.
Who taught you how to recruit? Did you just come by it natural, or did you have a mentor?
I think I came by it naturally, and I remember this and how I really got hired at Arkansas. My first year at Arkansas, I got out of the service in 1960. We had never recruited the Panhandle of Texas. We had always recruited West Texas a little bit, and we recruited the Dallas area because Fayetteville's a long way away from those areas. And Frank said, "Why don't you go out and see these top players out in Borger?" Borger had played for the state championship. Curtis Mayfield was the coach out there, had a great team, had a nose guard named John Lagrone, went to SMU, was an All-American nose guard, great player. And they had a guard and an end. They were pretty good. Lee Johnson and Melvin Gibbs were their names. They had a defensive end at Wichita Falls named Mickey Maroney. And I called on them. I didn't get Lagrone, but I got the other three. And we had never signed any players from out there. And all three started at Arkansas. And Melvin Gibbs was two-time All-Southwest Conference guard and center. And so, you know, that never happened. So I had, you know, proved to Frank I could go recruit. And they had no experience. So Frank hired me, full time, and made me a full-time coach and recruiter because I guess he saw I had the ability to, help his program.